Hey everyone, this is Kevin the Apptrepreneur, and I've got a good follow-up on a news story I did yesterday. For those of you who are not aware of the situation, yesterday I and several other Uber tubers reported on a situation in which an Uber driver was verbally assaulted and abused just over an altercation that we don't know what happened exactly. Apparently it had something to do with music, and the passenger was asked to leave the vehicle. The passenger, as you probably figured out, didn't leave the vehicle, called the cops, and just harassed the guy. Now, I made a video about it yesterday, so I don't need to repeat it. Needless to say, I will put the link at the end of this video so you can watch it if you want. But for those of you who want to know what the follow-up is, I have to say that it actually turned out to be a pretty good outcome, all things considered. First of all, one of the things I was disappointed to report was that the Lyft driver, okay, it's a Lyft driver, it's not an Uber driver, but the Lyft driver was suspended and forced to set up a GoFundMe to pay for bills. Thankfully, my prediction was correct. The video did, in fact, exonerate him, and he has confirmed that he is back driving on the platform. What's more, that GoFundMe campaign has actually turned to be pretty successful, and as of this recording has made over $8,000, $5 of which I contributed. I wish I could have contributed more, but again, just paid rent and medical. But you know what? I'm happy to help even with a little bit. And he might even make well more than $10,000. So that's a pretty good, pocket of change that he gets for having to deal with this crap that I hope no one else has to deal with. And he handled it like a professional, so he deserves every penny. And this also goes to show that Uber drivers do have each other's back, even when the company doesn't, and we'll talk about that in a minute. Now, the third thing to come out is that Robert Ortez, the guy who was actually seen screaming at the guy and calling him the N-word and calling him the F-word and calling the Lyft respond, whoever is at the Lyft person calling him and talking to him, he calls her a piece of what. Well, he has actually been fired by his employer at CityMD. Now, here's the thing about this. You may recall from the past, I've got very, very mixed feelings about people losing their jobs because they have like a drunken night and they get caught on camera. I didn't think that the guy who berated the Chick-fil-A lady should have gotten fired for his job. I don't believe that the other lady who threw the stuff out of the Uber guy's car should have gotten fired. I am very, very uncomfortable with the idea of your personal life blending into your work. As long as you don't bring your personal life into your work and become and misrepresent the company, I should say, I think you should keep your job. However, this is a special exception that I'm going to make, not only because the guy's behavior was really bad, but because unlike those other situations, he actually did talk about who he worked for. And he threatened that he was going to use his company resources and the place that he worked to get this guy fired. That, I think, is very important to keep in mind because, unlike these other places, he actually did come off as a representative of the company he worked for, and he was going to use the company's resources to get this guy fired, which is not what the company wanted. So I think in this case, it was probably well justified. He came in, he threw his chest around, he went out and said, I'm going to get you fired. You know where I work? I work for this place and I'm going to get you fired. I'm going to keep you fired and I'm going to ruin your life. And the company saw the video and said, yeah, no, you're not doing this on company time. In fact, you shouldn't have even brought us up. So yeah, you're fired. Now, they probably would have fired him even if he didn't bring them up. But I think that alone more than justifies termination on this guy. So that lawsuit he was going to send Lyft's way, well, he better pray they have a good case because he doesn't have any money coming in anytime soon. Now, of course, it should be noted that most disappointingly, we have not heard from Lyft in this entire situation. You would think that with this outcry that the driver so clearly backed the driver and CityMD so clearly distancing themselves from the passenger, that Lyft would be quick to point out that, hey, they harassed one of our employees too. That's not acceptable. He is suspended from our platform. But no, they have not said a thing. And in fact, the reality is they probably will not suspend him. Passengers very, very rarely get kicked off the platform because even though this guy caused a big problem for everyone, even though he wasted the cops' time, even though he threatened this guy's livelihood, even though he pissed off his employers to the point where they fired him, even though he used this derogatory language towards other human beings, including people who worked for Lyft. He actually cussed out people who worked for Lyft, who was trying to figure out what was going on and try to help with the problem. Apparently, he gets to stay on the Lyft platform. And if this were Uber, he'd still stay on the platform, because in these companies' eyes, hey, the passengers can do whatever they want as long as they're handing over that sweet money, as long as they're paying that $2.80 for the trip, or in this case, $8.01, then they are welcome. Doesn't matter what they do. Yeah. So anyway, that part is disappointing. But overall, I think we can all agree that we are all satisfied. I am glad that this guy can continue driving for the platform if he wishes. And with the money he's raising, maybe he can take like a few weeks vacation. Just recharge his batteries after this terrible, terrible ordeal. And the guy who thought that he would use his company as a way to threaten and harass people, well, that company said, not okay, and they got rid of him. Now, he might have other jobs, I don't know. It was also really, really stupid of him to give out his phone number. For the record, I actually did try to call it today. I tried to call to get a comment from him, and he must have turned off the phone or something, because it went straight to voicemail, and predictably, the voicemail inbox is completely full. So maybe I'll try in another week or so, but something tells me he's going to want to forget this happened as quickly as possible, and I don't blame him. But now I pass the question off to you. Is this a good outcome for the situation? Should it have even gotten to this point? Some people think the guy shouldn't have been suspended in the first place, and I'm of the opinion that I don't believe he should have, but I still sort of understand. And considering how well it turned out, I guess a suspension for a few hours is far from the worst thing to happen, especially since he got right back on the platform. This is why you always keep dash cams. You want to exonerate yourself. Dash cams will usually do that. But I'd love to know your thoughts, so comment below. Like, favorite, share, subscribe. If you enjoy my videos, consider becoming a Patreon member. It's totally optional, but even as little as $1 a month goes a long way to helping this channel run smoothly. And as always, flame responsibly. Have a good one.